Surprisingly and shockingly, the situation has turned the other way. Where at one point we did not have passengers to fill our airplanes due to COVID, now we do not have enough airplanes to fly our passengers.
That was Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia pointing at the fact that Indian aviation industry is unable to keep up with the increased demand for air travel in the country.
The number of passengers in the last 6 years has almost doubled again from 60 million to 140 million. A CAGR of almost 14.5%.
And these numbers are set to increase as the country moves towards becoming a $20 trillion economy by 2047. At the recent aviation summit, CAPA stated that international and domestic air traffic is expected to grow at 20% in FY24. Meanwhile, Indian airlines are facing a shortage of aircraft and crew. For instance, Air India had to cancel 6 of its weekly services from India to the US due to a crew crunch for its wide-body aircraft. At the same time, more than 100 aircraft, or 15% of the total aircraft of Indian Airlines, remain grounded due to a lack of maintenance, repair, and overhaul facilities in the country. The supply chain constraints and increased shipping charges for the aircraft's engines, frames, and other parts are some of the contributing factors for the aircraft to remain grounded.
The reasons that the aircraft are getting grounded, and purely as a result of what we've seen so far, is and has been because of engine reliability issues and damage or metal cracks occurring in brand new engines in operation. Most of the engines that are in commercial deployment in India are Pratt and Whitney, and these engines should not have a metrology or a metal damage, especially when it's a brand new engine. So clearly there is something wrong that Pratt and Whitney needs to address. And on this, it is imperative that the government and the regulator also step in, because this has got nothing to do with supply chain. It has to do with the engines failing, and this is something which is a major concern.
The aircraft and crew shortage is hampering the growth of the Indian aviation industry. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has approved 22,907 domestic departures per week for the coming summer. But the number is 9.5% less than that of the previous summer.
Having these aircraft grounded is a challenge because it directly impacts your revenue. On the cost side, the challenge that you face is a lot of low-cost carriers, and including some of the full-service carriers too, enter into long-term agreements with engine manufacturers, maintenance providers, and other service providers. And in a lot of these contracts, there is sometimes a challenge because there is a minimum guarantee. So you negotiate a rate, you negotiate a very hard rate, but that negotiation comes with certain terms and conditions in terms of whether you talk about minimum guarantee, that it will at least do this many number of hours. So then that is when it starts hurting, because there are certain costs you can control, certain costs you can't. I mean, if all of a sudden you have, within a span of 3 or 4 months, you have 20 aircraft grounded, the challenge for you is you've already hired the pilots and the cabin crew for them, because those aircraft are flying. So now you suddenly have these pilots and cabin crew which you have, but you don't have the aircraft that is there for operation.
However, at the CAPA Aviation Summit last week, the Minister of Civil Aviation mentioned that the ministry had extended the wet lease program for airlines from the earlier 6-month period to 1 year. The aviation industry is also focusing on recruitments and investing in capacity building at airports. Grounded aircraft are a liability and loss of income for airlines. When the Indian aviation industry is experiencing increased demand for air travel, grounded aircraft mean underutilization of existing resources. While Indian Airlines are already spending big bucks on the expansion of fleets, bringing the grounded aircraft back into service remains crucial in the short term.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views, and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and LinkedIn.